All right. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning from wherever you are. Welcome to today's pitch event, where you will again meet promising early stage blockchain startups. Today, again, we have selected three interesting startups that will present their project to you, and I hope everyone will enjoy today's session. Before we jump into today's session, let me quickly introduce the rundown for today. So we'll have a short introduction about the pitching startups and our objectives, and then they will start pitching in orderly manner. And after that, we'll announce the top two teams, and that will be the end of the pitch event for today. So moving forward, my name is Abu Sugiarto. I'm the program manager at Blockchain Founders Group. Today, I'm joined with my colleague Melissa, who's managing all this partnership and also events in Blockchain Founders Group. Moving forward, I would like to introduce briefly regarding Blockchain Founders Group. Our company is a company builder and startup accelerator with a strong European root and based in Germany. We build original Web3 ventures and we are blockchain agnostic. To date, our portfolio consists of more than 30 plus blockchain companies, and so far we have given financial support for many founder teams in the early stage Web3 business model. Within a company building and startup accelerator, we can blockchain ideas into companies within a short amount of time. We did this through our incubation program called the BFG Superstars Program, as well as our accelerator program, BFG Adrenaline Program. So the BFG has been founded and initiated by the executive team. Our board of directors, as well as our executive partners, combine many expertise, including regulatory framework, proven entrepreneurship, academic background, as well as VC and PE investment. Our executive teams combine many years of experience in the financial sector, businesses, as well as consulting, working closely with various startups, corporate companies, as well as entering smooth regulatory framework for our startup team. So last but not least, the BFG engine is run by my colleagues here, as well as myself. The six of us have our own expertise in the blockchain, as well as the company building knowledge. Throughout the years, we already kickstarted several companies, as you can see on the right side. These are the companies that we incubate from the beginning until we fund them and we support, and they're still running up to date. So feel free to reach out to any of us if you want to get connected with any of the startups. So I'm very happy to be joined by our three amazing judges today. I would like to give the stage for them to quickly introduce themselves. Let's start with Stefan. Stage is yours.
Yeah. Hey guys, great meeting all of you. I keep it very short. I'm currently looking after investments at Cypher Capital. It's the biggest Web3 VC in the Middle East, backed by the biggest Bitcoin miner in the Middle East. So I'm really well positioned. And yeah, prior to joining Cypher, I was on the listing side for Binance and at BlackRock long before that, before BlackRock was a crypto company. Yeah, very excited to be here, excited to see some cool projects and yeah, connect with all of you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stefan. Next, we have Arpit. Do we have Arpit here?
Yeah, hey Albert. So Albert is not good.
Hi.
I'm Vishal, co-founder at Graviton.
Okay.
So Graviton Web3 Accelerator is an accelerator arm of Gravitex Capital. It's one of the VC based out of India. And we are backing up early stage blockchain startups. We invested in more than 25 projects till date and looking forward to this demo day. Glad to be here.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Arpit. Next, Vishal.
Hello everyone, this is Vishal from Hyderabad, India. So I'm a community moderator at Gravithon. Plus, I also run a Web3 community in Hyderabad called Hyderabad DAO. And also, previously I used to work at Algorand Foundation. Am I audible?
Sorry?
Am I audible?
Yep.
Yeah. So previously I used to work at Algorand. I used to manage the ecosystem like we are going to connect an Algorand Impact Summit happening this November 29 to December 1st. So appreciate BFG for making this happen. I'm glad to explore the startups. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stefan, Arpit, and Vishal for the introduction. We'll look forward to your comments during the Q&A and the pitch as well. Now I'll hand over to Melissa to introduce the startup speaking today.
Thanks very much for that, Albert. So now I'll move on to introduce each of the startups that we have pitching today. So first up, we have Team SonX, who are building a community platform to connect music talents, artists, and brands with their community of devoted fans to reward and revolutionize fan engagement. Next, second pitching, we have Together Crew. So they're a platform that analyzes the strength of your community, supports member management, and they arm you with insights and tailored recommendations to help you build a vibrant and resilient community. And third to pitch today will be Trustware. So they are a B2B2C middleware infrastructure company focused on enhancing usability, security, and accessibility for Web3. So each of the teams today will be given 6 minutes to pitch, and they will face 5 minutes of question and answer with our judges. So they will first take questions from our jury, and then comes the exciting part. We will open the floor to the audience for some questions, if time permits. So each of these startups are evaluated on these criteria that the judges have also been given. So first is the project's market potential. The startup will be judged on whether they have identified a genuine area of interest in the Web3 space and whether their proposed project is effective in addressing it. Next, technical feasibility. The startup will be judged on how well it integrates blockchain technology into its project and whether the technology used is a relatively novel application. Third, we're looking at the scalability of their business models. The startup will be judged on how scalable their business model and growth plans are from a regional to a global level. And lastly, we're looking at the strength of the founding team. The judges will be evaluating whether the founders' educational background and past work experiences, whether they're suited and equipped and confident to deliver the project. So without further ado, let's kickstart the pitching and welcome Team SonX.
Thanks very much. Just get my screen share going. I think you need to remove the current screen share before I can share. There we go. Okay, bear with me. Sorry, it's just, there it is. Okay, cool. Sorry, have a lot of windows
right.
open. Okay,
No,
can everyone
no problem.
see my slide?
Yeah, looks good.
Wonderful. Okay, so 98% of musicians won't survive the current financial crisis. At SonX, our mission is to change that. So before we dive in, let's do a few introductions. So on the call as well, we have Lee. He's our founder and CEO. So he was previously the head of talent and creative strategy at Sony Music, and his previous experience to that also encompasses talent management and fashion PR. We have David Zarmawal. He couldn't be on the call, but he's our CFO. SonX is one of a handful of projects he's currently working on, but he wants to be part of the project long term. His previous experience includes time as an associate accountant at PwC and at Orange, and stints as the director of finance at BBC and The Telegraph. Then we have myself, Lewis Donovan, co-founder and CTO. My previous job was lead web developer at Sony Music, where I met Lee. And then previous to that, my experience was a mix of tech, web development, and artist management. So what problem are we trying to solve? The post-digital and post-COVID music industry model has eviscerated all traditional revenue models for musicians. Less than 0.5% of musicians make a living from their music. On average, Spotify pays 0.4% per stream, and record labels typically take 85% of that money. Artists would usually make a lot more money back from touring, but that's becoming increasingly unfeasible. And additionally, venues are taking typically 35% of proceeds from merchandise sales. So this kind of perfect storm has meant that since the end of COVID, the number of tours cancelled is at an all-time high, and it's not just a problem for smaller independent artists. You have artists like Santi Gold, The Animal Collective, Gang of Youths, Justin Bieber, and Stormzy that have all had tours cancelled since the end of COVID. There's also a data problem. So the proliferation of Web2 platforms has reduced the artist's ability to identify their biggest fans. Analytics from social and streaming platforms only show aggregated data. You have sales and CRM data, but typically that's guarded by industry gatekeepers such as record labels, and they will normally demonstrate their value with vanity metrics that aren't really connected to monetized conversion goals. So this approach has meant that there's a bias towards casual fans and away from real kind of dedicated fans. And that's important because 40% of music consumers that are fans account for 75% of all music spending. Our solution is SonX. It's a mobile app that allows artists to identify, monetize, and reward their superfans via community, content, and commerce tools. Artists can build a community of superfans paywalled by low-cost monthly subscriptions. They can post exclusive live and on-demand content just for their superfans. They don't have to fight against algorithms to gain visibility. They own the relationships, and fans see everything that an artist shares with their community. They can further monetize with exclusive limited edition merchandise and fan-only ticketing. The paywall also prevents bots and scalpers from getting access to drops and ticket on sales. Ticket and merch purchases result in digital collectibles, which I'll get into in a moment. Fans get bragging rights, and artists get actionable data to identify and reward those superfans. All of this is based on existing behaviors. So we know from decades of data that fans will interact with artists, they'll buy tickets, they'll buy merchandise, and they'll participate in fan communities. And we know this because they've done it for years. And this is where other, music Web3 platforms have maybe faltered a bit, because they try to invent behaviors that don't already exist. And that's fine if your product is aimed at Web3 natives, but it falls down when you position yourself in front of an audience that may not understand Web3. So Sonics is not an overtly Web3 platform. It's very under the hood. We don't use jargon or confusing Web3 language. You don't need a wallet to join. You don't need crypto to join. You don't even need to know what an NFT is. And this is important because our target audience, Gen Z, 81% of them have never bought, sold, or traded an NFT. So in terms of how we do actually use it, we're very dedicated to making the Web3 experience seamless. We see an NFT as a reward and a data opportunity rather than a product that someone would buy. And again, this leads into existing behaviors. So what happens on Sonics is users are given an ERC6551 token for each artist community that they join. And that token will evolve based on the unique blend of tokens inside it. So NFTs are awarded to users as they make purchases and attain community levels within the platform. The tokens that they receive have a dynamic rarity. I'll give you an example. So if I'm an artist and I want to put 100 t-shirts of a certain design on sale, the first person to buy that will get a 1-of-1 token, which is an ERC 721. The next 10 will each get an ERC 1155, which is a 1-of-10. And the next 89 will each get a 1-of-89, which is also an ERC 1155. So what happens is whenever there's a ticket or a piece of merchandise added to the platform, the quantity is taken into account and the optimum rarity distribution is then worked out. So whenever someone purchases, the most rare available is apportioned to them at that point of purchase. So artists can find the quality users based on the tokens that they hold, and they can then inject rewards into those tokens and grant them special access to things. In future, we'll also be allowing users to lend their clout or their community reputation to other users. So for example, if they get given early access to a ticket, but they can't make it to the show, they can lend their bundle to someone else so that they can get that access. We'll also be enabling users to create fan art as intellectual property that artists can use to create merch, with a royalty going to both parties. So how big is the opportunity? The global music industry is expected to grow to $131 billion by 2030, according to a projection from Goldman Sachs. So for our total addressable market, we've taken the total number of paying users on a music streaming service globally. So that's a little over 612 million. Almost all of them are millennial or Gen Z. Typically, superfans make up 21% of an artist's fan base. So for our serviceable available market, it's simply 21% of our TAM, which is 128.6 million. Our serviceable obtainable market will obviously depend on the artists that we're able to attract to the platform and the sizes of their fan base. But fortunately for us, 95% of artists with an engaged audience are earning less than $50,000 a year from streaming. So they not only need our service, but they have the fan base to make it work. So how do we make money? We have 3 subscription tiers. There's a freemium tier, which is essentially just previews of the content, and then 2 paid tiers of $199 and $399 a month. And that's per artist, not for the platform as a whole. All subscription revenue, merch sales, and Sonics ticket sales are split 80-20 in favor of the artist. We're also discussing a data partnership with Ticketmaster and Dice that would allow fans to purchase their stock without leaving Sonics, and we would make an affiliate commission on those. Are we over time?
Yeah, at this stage. I'll just give you a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds to wrap up.
Okay, cool. So just traction where we're at today. We've got the beta app. We did a closed beta with 4 artists. We have 5,000 users signed up to our pre-launch mailing list. We proved the thesis for all 4 artists in our beta. So the thesis was that artists would make more money with Sonics or with less users than they do from their whole fan base on Spotify in the same period. We proved that thesis with all 4 artists. So now we're out of beta. We've had 63 artists sign up since we came out of beta last month. 52 of those are this month, and that's all organic with no paid spend. We have a 37.8% conversion rate and a 33 7-day retention rate. Here's the competitor slide, but I'm very aware that I'm running over time, so maybe we can wrap it up and go to questions there. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thanks so much. We'll now move on to the time of question and answer. We'll just invite the judges to start asking any questions that they will have.
Yeah, I can then maybe kick it off. It's very interesting. I've been actually talking to a few projects trying to do something very similar. It's really like, your Chili's, which is always addressing like football platforms, but there's other fans, and monetizing like a lot of like collectibles is a big market. But the biggest barrier so far seems to be really getting these good artists. So I would be curious to hear, like you said, you're already working with some artists, if what kind of artists they are, if they're like tier 1 artists like Rihanna or someone like that, or if it's more like a local British band, to get a sense of where you are with the market. In addition to that, it would be interesting to hear if you thought about having like a token model for the business. And the reason why I'm asking is just, generally speaking, a SaaS business is very difficult to scale in crypto because it is still a very small market. And your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I can start with the second question. I know Lee, my co-founder, is on the call, and I'm sure he's itching to answer the artist question as well. But in terms of the token model, we did early on in our inception kind of go down that route. We wrote out the tokenomics and got all of that work done. We made a decision on that actually during the Techstars Accelerator. We made a decision on that we wanted to build ourselves as a platform first. But we do have that work kind of in the bank, and we haven't written it off. It's just kind of parked for now. The reason is that we want to focus on the business before launching a separate economy. We are, however, at the moment partnering with a company called Quest, who are also in our Techstars Accelerator. They're a kind of gamification as a service company, and we're incorporating gamification into the platform, but it will be sort of community points rather than an actual currency.
And just on your first point, hi guys, lovely to meet you. My name's Lee. In terms of artists, so in the presentation that Lewis gave, he spoke about the 98% of artists that aren't making sustainable revenue. Currently, Spotify has about 11 million artists on the platform, and about 1,000 of those artists are making £1 million per year, and about 10,000 of them are making $50,000 per year. For us, I think it's really important to show that, number one, as we have through our thesis, that you do not need vanity metrics to make sustainable revenue. In fact, if you engage with a smaller group of fans, you can do that. But I think the other thing is working out the reasons why the 1% would want to join the platform. So Rihanna doesn't need sustainable income from Sonics, right? What she will want is community. All of those artists that I've spoken to, the great thing about having worked at Sony Music is that we've been able to have discussions with artists about why they don't use their own social media. And a lot of the time it's because they feel like it's a negative space. It's not, they can't really figure out who the true fans are. If they want to give tickets away for free, they can't. I was speaking to somebody yesterday who was saying that Ed Sheeran has about 20 million fans, or obviously a lot more than that. But the record label only has about 20,000 emails of who those fans actually are. And so for us, it's about knowing for each tier what is going to be the thing that drives them to use a platform like this, and making sure the platform can execute that. And I think another good example is SoundCloud. SoundCloud had thousands of users on the platform, artists of probably the sort of the bottom level, before Drake decided to use it. Once Drake joined on the platform, it was an amazing marketing tool, but guess what? They already had a business. So it just propelled that business. When you have platforms like OneOf that have done collaborations with Doja Cat and Jay-Z, and then Doja Cat and Jay-Z don't use it ever again, they have no business. So for us, I think it's really important to establish our users and then go to the 1% once there's a platform there and tools that they can use, and go, okay, cool, you're an amazing marketing opportunity for us.
All right. Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, one second. One question.
Hi.
Yeah. This is Vishal. So I would ask, like, how would you convince the listeners to onboard on your platform? Like, I see on your pitch deck that it says like built-in rewards. What rewards do we offer to the listeners? Like, what are the perks they get that they pay on the Sonex crew like that?
I'm not sure I understand the question. What are the rewards? Was that?
Yeah. What are the benefits of for the listeners? I guess it's more beneficial
Sure.
for the artist, right? I would like to come on.
So we do suggest rewards that the artists can inject into the NFTs that the users get. Obviously, like innate in the platform is a closer relationship with the artist, so they're going to be posting content and live experiences there that they're not posting anywhere else, and also early access to tickets that that they're not posting anywhere else or before anywhere else. So you get that kind of early access and closer access. But the rewards that are injected into the NFTs that the users hold, it's up to the artist. We do provide, the artist with suggestions for that. It can be anything from something like touch to a discount in the merch store, all the way up to a physical meet and greet before a show or at some event that they're doing, some private event, and anything in between. We do, as I say, we do provide suggestions to the artists for that. We also assist with featured artists. We also assist with the creation of certain events. During our beta, we did a coffee morning for one of the artists and brought people from their Sonex community to that event. In future, at the moment, we're writing an artist playbook that's really going to kind of nail all of this stuff down, and we're going to make that available to every artist on the platform so that they can get a better idea. And we're also looking into building a feature called Manager in Your Pocket, which is a kind of an AI feature that will actually actively reach out to the artists and suggest not only users, but also rewards to give them based on their behaviors on the platform.
The final thing is that there's also a reward on us verifying who you are as a fan. What I mean by that is currently, if you are a fan of Drake and you became a fan of Drake 10 years ago or whenever he came out, and you were the first 1,000 fans that were supporting Drake, there's no way of showing that. There's no way of Drake actually knowing that. So there's a reward in being able to go and actually verify that actually I was one of the first 10,000 fans. I was one of the first fans to buy his first ever merch drop. At the moment, all of those things either exist in a drawer or there's just nowhere on the internet to actually prove that. So there is actually a reward in just being able to be rewarded by us in terms of some of the actions that you've made as a fan.
Yeah, watch. It's cool.
Cool. I think Vishal's trying to ask a question, but he can't unmute himself. Do you want to try again? If not, actually, we're out of time as well, so we can move on to the next.
That's it. Sorted.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe we'll just move on to the next startup. Thank you so much, Lewis and Lee. I thought that was a great presentation. Yeah. We'll have fun together, crew now.
So thanks, Lee and Lewis, for this great pitch. So now we're talking about Together Co. I'm Katarina. I'm the co-founder of Together Co, and we enable community-powered business growth. Over the years, what we have seen is that the way companies interact with their users has changed. And we're now in an area of community-powered growth. But the word community is being thrown around a lot, and it got a bad rap, especially in Web3 given the last 6 months. However, the companies who are building real communities, so not just empty shells, are seeing a positive impact on their business, such as faster sales cycle, increased retention, and increased purchase. So there's a benefit to having a real community. Our success in getting, but the problem with building real communities is that it is really difficult. There's a lot of manual labor. And we talked with at least 50 community managers, and they're all telling us the same thing. Members are having thousands of questions. There's a lot of stuff happening on a lot of different platforms. To sum it up, being a community manager is overwhelming. And this problem is made worse by data being siloed and locked into specific tools, leaving community managers with guessing what is really happening inside their community. Our success in getting grant funding from large Web3 communities to research and develop real community metrics serves as a validation that everyone is grappling with these questions about how can we create and sustain healthy communities. Together Co's solution is threefold. First, we're giving community managers a holistic insight about what is really happening, because you can't develop a community strategy and you can't execute it if you don't know what is happening inside your community. Secondly, we're moving away from vanity metrics that measure the audience, but not the community. And thirdly, we're not just providing a fancy dashboard. The output of our algorithms serves as input for our automation, saving community managers time. Here is just one example. Of course, we have the basics, a dashboard. On the dashboard, you can see how many community members are actively engaged in conversations, because it is conversations that make communities stick, not just channels where people say GM. That helps people, or that helps community managers identify the key stakeholders. But we're not just doing this. If a community member, for example, drops from being engaged to disengaged, that person will receive an automatic message nudging them to re-engage, thus saving community managers time checking in with their users and increasing retention. And that is just one example of the automations that our platform is offering. We are doing this because we are a team of nerds. So we have scientists behind the scenes who are combining insights from different scientific disciplines to figure out what is really happening inside a community and what behavior predicts engagement or retention or disengagement and so on. And we're using this by integrating on-chain and off-chain data. At this moment, we have 10K in R&R and 40 early adopters. But more importantly, the stories I'm hearing from community managers is that finally doing their job is less overwhelming and we're saving them time. Together Co's solution sits squarely in a 409 billion marketing tech market. And we're tackling this by beginning with Web3. We're doing this by using a traditional SaaS model where companies pay for the integrations that they need, and we're growing with them. We are uniquely placed in the community tooling landscape. There are a lot of tools that help you grow your community through ads, which is like feeding the fire more and more and more. We are different. We are helping communities grow organically because that sticks. In addition to this, we have automated workflows, so saving community managers time. We are uniquely placed to do this because, as I said before, we are a team of scientists. We have 2 PhDs who have a degree in network science and organizational behavior. In addition to this, we have an expert in marketing and an expert in organizational design and governance. Thus, we know Web3 and we know how communities work. We are working towards a vision where we have a data marketplace, where integrating data from different platforms like Discord, Snapshot, Coinmetrics, and so on, we are analyzing what works, and we have these metrics open for other tools to plug in. For example, we are showing who is the most active ones, and there are tools like Praise, Kudos, or Quiddle who can then hook into our tool and reward their members financially or non-financially thanks to our data. Together Co is moving away from vanity metrics and guesswork, and through this unlocking community-powered growth. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that, Katerina. Really appreciate that you made it within the time limit. So we'll move on to the question and answers now. I'll leave the judges to take it from here.
Okay, I think Vishal wants to say something, but can't hear him.
Maybe you can type it. Yeah, maybe you can type it in the chat, and then we will ask it on your behalf. Thanks so much.
maybe then while you type it, I can also ask, like, can you explain me a bit on like how you're different than your competition? Because for me, this is a very like I can like just easily aggregate Discord and Twitter data, right? And then just see who are the active accounts. And in terms of like interaction with me as a blockchain protocol, I see it on the blockchain, right? I just see which wallet address is most active and reward the active wallet. So I guess the question is a bit like, what's the benefit for me as a project to use you? And I know you've been touching on it already, but in my head, it's still a bit, doesn't make too much sense because I can get all these data from other places, right? I can aggregate Discord and Twitter user data. I can see the wallet activity. Like, why would I pay $1,000 to use you?
Yeah, wonderful question. Well, first, I'm going to question how easy it is to integrate all the data from all the different tools. One of our competitors, they closed shop in July, exactly because getting the real-time data in front of community managers was too complicated. So they are now out. So it's not easy. And working with the Twitter API has been not really nice. But the more important question is, how are we different and why do you actually need to get a tool? If you look at the other community tools or community analytics tools, what they are focusing on is activity. So you get to know how loud is your community. But that doesn't tell you, will your community still exist in 3 years or 5 years? So you get this short-time buzz information, but not long-term growth data. And in that way, we are different. And we are able to do this because we have 2 PhDs, and I'm one of them, who have studied network science. So this is not something that you can pick up in 6 months. This requires a degree, and network science is understanding how the relationship between people impact different outcomes. And that's our main, let's say, benefit compared to other tools that we have. In addition, what we have seen is that, for example, Zeely gives you a bucket of tasks, and then community members have to figure out what do they want to do. We're not doing that. We're saying, okay, Stefan, you have been in our community for 6 months. You mainly check out these and these channels and talk with 3 or other people. We're going to give you a task that we know will make you more engaged with our community. And we're doing this, we are able to do this based on our algorithm.
So the end customer is then not actually the product or the project itself that wants to have this data, it's the user. Like if I use Ethereum, then after a year you come to me and you be like, hey, this is how you can leverage it, or?
No. So like we have seen like protocols want devs to work on them. That's kind of the main thing. So the main thing is then how can you get more devs on your platform or in your community and stay in your community. And that's what we're solving for.
Okay, so, but it's very like for dev, like it's very driven by money emission, right? Like they want to be where they see a lot of growth and maybe like alignment with like the personal values and financial rewards in terms of like if I build on Ethereum 5 years ago, I believe in the project becoming financially viable as well. I feel like that's what devs care about, like at least when talking to them, but maybe I have a...
Yeah, but once you have a problem, you need help. And that's where the community comes in. And if your community gives you like if it takes 3 days to get an answer, this impacts the work of the dev. And that information travels throughout the community. For example, Solana, I talked with the Solana devs and asked me, why are you building on Solana? And they said community. Like the vibe on that protocol is just so amazing that that's the reason why they went there. Didn't even look at other things.
All right. Got it. Want to leave some room for other questions.
Yes. Am I audible, Melissa?
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Thanks, Katrina, for your presentation. I just wanted to ask, like you mentioned, you will help communities grow organically. Just wanted to understand how you are going to help companies grow organically in terms of forming their communities.
Yeah. Simply, while we there's there's a huge scientific field around communities. There are algorithms that predict who will stay and who will leave based on their behavior. So the first step is integrating data across different platforms. So Twitter, Discord, and so on, Telegram. And then it's simply segmenting users based on their interaction patterns. What are they doing on each platform, on which, who are they interacting, on what stuff are they voting yes or no? And then based on that, give them one specific task that will make them, or one specific nudge, however you want to call it, that make them more engaged in the community. So that the goal is, or what we're doing is that we analyze the data, we develop algorithms, and these algorithms predict engagement or predict retention. And in this way, we help communities grow. So it's sorting through all the data that community members create for the touch points.
Are you going to have Quest on your platform?
Quest?
Yeah.
So two ways. Because we know a lot about the users, we can or partner with Zili or Galaxy or another Quest platform and hook into them, and then the user creates Quest on the other tool. Or we have like a Netflix for community members, where you log into Discord and then or whatever tool you're using, and you get a suggested, let's say, to-do list or recommended stuff that you can do in your in this community.
So basically what you are doing is you are analyzing users' behavior to understand what quest they will be solving, and you are providing that to them. Is that correct understanding?
By providing them the quest that will most likely make them higher engaged and retained in the community. So not just any type of quest, but the specific thing that makes them stick. And
how you are going to decide that? Like what kind of parameters are there for analyzing the user behaviors?
So it's all the different interactions that a user can have on the platform. So this is what they're posting, the topics that they're talking about, the integrations that they're interacting with on your platform, how many times they're talking with a specific person. So if you consider everything that you can do in your community, we're taking all of this and making sense of it.
Okay.
All right, thanks so much for the questions. So we have overrun the time for Q&A, and we'll now move on to the next team. Thanks so much, Katerina, for that presentation. And now we're looking forward to hearing from Trustware, our final pitching team. So I'll just get Jesse to share his screen.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Give me 1 second here. You guys see this? Cool. All right. Hey guys, my name is Jesse Phillips. I'm co-founder and CEO of Trustware. We're a Techstars-backed blockchain infrastructure company on a mission to create a more connected, more equitable, and better world by harnessing decentralized technology. We focus on democratizing financial access. Today, I want to start with a story. This is 11 years ago while I was traveling in Guatemala. Witnessed a dude step onto this bus, hand the driver some cash, and basically say, my cousin is sitting in the middle of the road in 10 kilometers. Unfortunately, what you see here happened, which is that our minibus broke down within about 10 minutes. When we finally resumed our journey a couple hours later, the man's cousin was gone, making the transaction impossible. So here's me at 19 years old, coming from a world of Amazon, iTunes, credit cards, and digital banking. You see, in the United States, I had limitless financial choices, but this guy had to rely on uncertain in-person transfers. Why? Well, the answer was and still is financial fragmentation. You see, even with the rise in mobile money services providers over the last 10 years, financial options for most people haven't really changed that much. This is because the problems are systemic. Current centralized solutions generally ride on these antiquated banking rails and are gated by physical jurisdiction and banking and ID requirements. They're high friction with dodgy in real life access, high transfer fees, and low transfer speeds. Cough, cough, Western Union. And well, they've also got a lack of platform interoperability and limited currency pairs. Even if you get through all of this, you're generally stuck in your own currency, and that can get really bad when there's serious inflation. On the decentralized side, despite solving a lot of the problems around democratization, they really fall short because they're way too complex. Using them right now is like command line versus an operating system. Sure, you could go with the easy option, but then you get FTX or self-custody, but it's scary. It's essentially the digital equivalent of having cash under the mattress. And finally, fragmentation. Blockchains don't really talk to each other well across Web 2 and Web 3. So the current solutions on both sides are failing and harming users. That's why we exist. And we're abstracting away the complexity, building systems that maintain user autonomy and ownership, and connecting them seamlessly to financial services globally. We believe we can revolutionize financial connectivity by taking the best of both worlds, effectively Web 3 and Web 2 close. And so today I'd like to show you our first product, .ox names. If you remember nothing else about today, .ox is effectively global on-chain Venmo. It's available to anyone with an internet connection anywhere with nearly any asset. And basically, it's your passport to a revolutionary financial frontier where one universal account spans multiple blockchains, connecting you to your favorite apps, friends, global businesses, all without the hassle of managing numerous wallets or accounts. So with Trustware, you can instantly send money to anyone in the world using just their OX name. Your money travels on transparent and secure blockchain rails, and it's held by you, not a bank or a large institution, so it's available when you need it. And you can store your assets securely with multiple layers of security, connect to other financial and social applications such as your bank accounts, wallets, exchanges, credit cards, fintechs, applications across Web 2, Web 3, you name it. So let's take a look at how it works. Under the hood, we've got our human readable usernames. These are payable across chains, as I've mentioned. Think about it similar to ENS, but they're built on Axelar. What does this mean? Well, they're available across 51 blockchains as of this morning. You can think of kind of Trustware as the universal router or resolver, like Cisco. While Axelar handles the routing, we bundle everything into a simple package, giving user the ability to manage many wallets underneath. And this is kind of what it looks like. Next, we've got our simple self-custody, security, and recovery paradigm. Effectively, we've built a version of multi-sig. The important thing to know here is that all keys are owned by the user. 2 out of 3 keys to sign the transaction. Any 2 out of 3 keys can recover or replace the third. So you're actually recovering from yourself. If you lose one, uses the smartphone you already have in your pocket. No centralized or counterparty risk, even us. By the end of basically developing this, it should feel very similar to Apple Pay. And finally, the accessibility part. It's one account that plugs into financial apps across Web 2 and Web 3. And because many wallets are actually managed under this name, say Jesse.ox, you can actually offer functionality across these many chains via simple API integrations. So OX names are really powerful alone, as we've seen, but they're even more powerful when they serve as the central hub or transfer layer between financial applications. And this is where it gets really interesting. Take a look at our go-to-market. This is with a company called Pipit. We're in final stage negotiations here. This allows us to do 1,500 cash in and cash out locations across most of the developing world, right? So here we are basically piggybacking on mobile money, remittances, stablecoins, peer-to-peer payments, and linking previously unlinked financial applications as kind of OX is the decentralized hub, again, through these API connections. So it starts getting really interesting when you look at that, because this is kind of the missing link, allowing for previously unlinked things to now be linked. A good example of this is Mesh, which would allow us to connect, for example, our Binance account, and we could exit via Beam, which would be directly into a credit card, or print a link that allows you to get your crypto via Peanut protocol. And so this is kind of using the .ox name as the decentralized hub instead. The data is showing.
So at this point,
Jesse,
at this point, we're out of time. I'll just give you a couple of seconds to wrap up.
Yeah, data is showing we're onto something. We don't just play in one of these markets, we play in all of them. Our business model is pretty dreadfully simple. We take a transaction fee, We charge for usernames free to $10,000 if you really want a vanity plate, and we rev share between the people that we're kind of sending attention to, as well as this is our way of co-opting the competition. Finally, we're a damn good team, if I do say so myself. I come from a long time in the centralized exchange side. I know essentially what we're up against. My co-founder is a 4-time founder. We both met at Draper University. We've been doing this a long time, and we've got a payments expert on our team, as well as a fully global team, five countries represented across. Can I just say this last thing? I think this is the last bit. Okay, cool. What you've seen here basically is one application built on Trustware. The future is B2B2C SDKs. So everything that we built to make .ox names possible, we are looking for support in order to release that so that any relationship-based app can be built on these frameworks. So you decide. All of these things are relationship-based apps. What will you build today? If you're interested in this, give me a ring. Thank you so much.
Thanks for that, Jesse. We'll now move into a time of question and answer with the judges.
So how much of this did you actually build already, and how much is still a thought process?
Yep. So we will be releasing testnet very soon with the .ox names. We are not fully available across every Axelar supported chain yet. That would be a massive undertaking. There's 51 as of this morning. We'll be launching with about 5. The .ox names as well as the security paradigm are built. The issue with security paradigm is that we do not want to release it without audit money. And so that's why we're raising effectively is for that audit money in order to layer in the security paradigm, as well as to expand our dev resources to build out everything we've done in SDKs. But in terms of what you've seen in this presentation, basically these are all screenshots for the most part of what the actual application looks like. The last thing I'll say is that the API integrations are still coming. So kind of what you saw in that beginning of the OX launch, where it's just kind of that peer-to-peer payment system is really where we are right now. And we're essentially building out the rest of it.
Okay, got it.
Thanks, Jace, for the presentation. I wanted to understand, so are you using Axelar for a cross-chain messaging protocol?
Yes, we use Axelar.
So is there any reason you have choose Axelar over Layer 0 or other cross-chain messaging protocol?
Yeah, it's a really good question. We spent a long time, before kind of a lot of the big names went on to Axelar, like Microsoft, et cetera. Fundamentally, it comes down to fees for the end user. Because we are bundling our transactions into essentially the fees for the end user, we want to make it as cheap as possible. Layer 0 reliance on Chainlink means in general, it's going to be more expensive for the same general message passing. Axelar also has more availability in terms of different chains as well as logic. And that's mainly having to do with the fact that while we originally started this as an EVM project, they have kind of the EVM side as well as the Cosmos and IBC side, which gives a fair amount of optionality that I don't think really exists in any other ecosystem. And that's really the main difference. But there are starting to be things that come out where we can integrate like Uniswap X, for example. Right now, we can do a transfer and swap feature directly in via Squid Router. But there are other things where, for example, Uniswap X is building along this idea of, okay, let's optimize the transfer layer. Let's make sure that it's the correct one, or the correct one in terms of a fee structure. But that was generally our thinking, and I think remains today.
Okay. And when you mention a transfer layer between on-off ramp, and let's say you are working with some banking services, what are the challenges you will be facing in terms of regulations? Because in developing countries, there are a lot of challenges when you work with off ramp. So how are you going to solve those challenges?
So you can kind of think of us as the universal resolver. We actually don't touch the assets. We don't run the rails. We are basically doing that one simple thing and then slapping on a very appealing kind of Web 2 focus, or like a Web 2 kind of interface on top of it. KYC AML requirements are done by the on and off ramp and inflow outflow. Anything else, be it a public API, If it exists on the internet, we can bring it basically directly into the dApp store, make a widget out of it, for example. So the goal here, and like as we've talked to experts, especially during Techstars, we at this stage do not believe we need a VASP license. We also do not believe that we need to handle really any of this side, because we don't actually touch the asset. Again, user controls assets, keys, identity, data. We couldn't even touch it if we wanted to. They would have to permission us. And so I think that's the way that we've been strategizing around getting around that very important point.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much for that, judges. Do you have any other questions?
Just one more question. You mentioned that you will be providing APIs and the users will be having unique IDs across the chain, right?
Yep.
How does that work? Like, let's say I have an ID vishal.0x and I will be using the same ID across multiple protocols. That's what you mentioned, right?
So underneath the hood, we're doing the resolving, and the routing is done by Axelar. But basically, the resolving is done towards, if you remember that slide where it shows the wallet manager, the resolving is done towards a existing wallet address. And so, like, you can even use it in the functionality. Like, I want to put my Ethereum address as Coinbase. Anything sent to Jesse.ox immediately hits that wallet right now. You can also use the security paradigm to keep it in there. But because it's just a public address, and the user can effectively sign a transaction, they can also use that as a way to just kind of manage more or less internal single sign-on to any of these dApps across multiple ecosystems. So there's actually essentially a public key underneath that, a public-private key underneath that actually does that. Does that make sense?
Who is going to take that decision? Which chain is going to be used, user or your backend?
Sorry, I don't know if I
So
understand.
let's say, yeah. So let's say there are 4 or 5 blockchains that I am currently interacting with, and I am currently interacting with, let's say, Ethereum and Polygon. So let's say I'm doing one transactions which can transfer my asset from Ethereum to Polygon chain. So is user is going to choose the both chain on their side, or is it mapping from your side, which is automatically choose the network who I'm going to interact with?
So in the event of cross-chain stuff, it's the user's choice how they want to route. And specifically, like, one of the things we're working on is the ability for me to select, okay, I want all incoming funds to transfer into USDT, for example. But in terms of like cross-chain, the user selects essentially which chain they would like to run the instance on. Is that answering the question, or?
Okay, yeah, that's it.
It's full user optionality throughout. The idea is that we provide the infrastructure and basically get out of the way throughout the entire stack.
All right, thank you.
Thanks very much for that, Jesse, and thank you, Trustware, for coming on. So now we'll move on to the last portion of our pitch event. I'll be getting my colleague Albert on to just share some quick announcements while we tabulate the top 2 teams for this month's pitch event. So at this point, judges, can I get you to go and fill in the score sheet as well that I've sent across, so that we're able to know, who are our top 2 teams? Albert?
All right, we're still loading for the screen.
Give me a moment.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, all teams, for picking for today. Yeah, so as Melissa mentioned, we'll be having our Startup Founders Demo Day. It's gonna be on December, so make sure you guys register and stay tuned, and we will showcase our latest themes from our latest acceleration program. Again, within this cohort, we have so many diverse teams and very exciting business opportunities. So if you're a founder as well, you can also check it out, as well as if you're an investor, make sure to get this first opportunity to get in touch with the teams during the demo day.
Well, that was actually it. That was our main announcement for today. So we are looking at the scores coming in. And we would like to just quickly announce our top 2 teams. So give me a moment. So the top 2 teams for this round are Trustware and SonX. So congratulations, both you guys. You've impressed us the most today with your pitch, and we're really happy with what we've seen. And with all of that, we would like to thank Stefan, Vishal for participating, and thank you for making this event so successful as well. The event recording will be available on YouTube, and the link will be sent to all participants as well after this. If you would like to get in touch with any of the pitching startups, feel free to reach out to myself or Albert as well. So our emails will be provided here. So if you would like to attend future editions, you can join us for upcoming monthly pitch events. So our November one is right on the screen as well. Feel free to join us, follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, subscribe to our newsletter to receive marketing emails. With not much else, I'll be closing the event. So I'd like to once again congratulate SonX and Trustware for being the top 2 teams today. Thank you everybody for spending your time with us on Zoom, on YouTube. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Congrats, Jesse. Bye.